Hello, ladies and gents, and welcome to No Drama Just Movies Rapid Reviews. So, I watched the Jordan Peele produced Him recently, and I had some thoughts. Right off the bat, it wasn't as bad as I expected it to be. I liked the messaging. The film tackled success and fame, and how you have to sacrifice everything else if you want to be the best. How far are you willing to go to get to the top, to be the GOAT? I like these kinds of performance stories, especially stories about how much it costs to achieve greatness in your chosen field. It had a nice thriller feel to it, how far Cameron had to go and how he was constantly tested. I thought that level of unease really worked. Having said that, I would have wanted more of a choice from Cameron. I wanted to see a little more how he chose his career and fame with each test. For example, when they're doing their shooting practice and they bring out the mascot, how obvious is it to Cameron that there might be a real person in that costume? Would he hesitate? I mean, we can see the person breathing. Can he? I would have wanted to see more hesitation, more questioning the situations he's put into. Something to show his uneasiness, but also how much he's willing to look past that and push himself to the extreme for this chance. Marlon Wayans has some wonderfully intense moments, and it was a surprisingly good performance for me, considering that I know him mainly from things like Scary Movie. But he keeps that menacing energy boiling underneath for most of the runtime, which just adds to the feeling of discomfort. Tyriq Withers, whom I last saw as one of the characters in the most recent I Know What You Did Last Summer, did well to co-carry the film. He plays Cameron as someone who puts on the swagger and the bravado, maybe because he realizes that it's all part of the game. But Withers also shows a vulnerable side, someone who is even overwhelmed at times by all the pressure, but driven to succeed by his family. I loved the scene towards the beginning where Cameron is getting ready for the game and his family and his agent argue over whether he should play. It suggests that this whole thing is completely out of his control. I liked some of the colours as well. There were nice uses of the combination of red and black, which always works for me. But what I really enjoyed visually was the use of the X-ray vision when Cameron and the other guy knock their heads together during practice. And then later with Cameron and Isaiah fighting, that glowing effect looked really cool. Right, major spoilers ahead, so if you're still going to watch this movie, come back at a later time for my thoughts on the ending. I liked how it culminated in his fight with Isaiah. Because to be the best, you kind of have to eliminate the previous best. But that's also where the film fell apart for me. Cameron actually killing his hero should have been the end. That should have been the moment where Cameron is firmly on board with doing everything he needs to do to be the GOAT. But then he comes out onto the field and they're asking him to sign his name in the Book of the Beast or something, and he refuses, which is a step back. He already did the worst thing. Him killing Isaiah was the moment where he lost his soul. You can't now go back and say he still has his morals. It also suddenly turns into a revenge fantasy, and the whole ending feels more like tacked-on fan fiction. There's one alternate ending where Isaiah survives and watches Cameron, who has signed his name, win his first ring. I would have preferred that ending. Not only does it show Cameron willing to sacrifice his soul for the sport and continues his natural progression, but it also adds another, much more tragic level to Isaiah's story. Overall, this was a decent thriller, which, at its best, puts us in the uncomfortable skin of a driven but conflicted protagonist. I liked the exploration of how much you have to sacrifice to become the best in your chosen field, not just in sports. When it hit the right mark, it was even inspiring. How much would you give to succeed? Would you work overtime or sacrifice a holiday to get the job done? But it did fall apart for me towards the end, and unfortunately, that left a bit of a sour taste. And that's all. Roll credits.